now, Steve Corino, we are set for what promises to be an incredible match between Michael Shane and Paul London. This one has a long-running history. Steve Corino, fill us in a little bit, if you will.
Well, you know, these guys have quite a feud going. The cocky Michael Shane, who I am so impressed with. I mean, I could go on for hours about how impressed I am with Michael Shane, and that's why. You never turn your back on your opponent, Paul London. Well, when will somebody learn? This kid, Michael Shane, is the nephew of Shawn Michaels. Do you think that he knows all the dirty tricks? This is why I like this kid. But anyway, back to the story, Donnie B, that you asked me about. Michael Shane has a lot of heat with Paul London because Paul London is jealous that Michael Shane won the contract at Crowning the Champion in the tag match that featured Michael Shane and his partner Biohazard against Don Juan and Paul London. Paul London's looking for a little revenge here because he had to drive up from Texas with good old the fat potato with legs, Rudy Boy Gonzalez, and Michael Shane flew. And not only did he fly, he flew up Biohazard on his own dime because when you have a contract with Ring of Honor, you make a lot more money than Paul London did driving in the smelly van with Rudy Boy Gonzalez. In a nutshell.
Steve Corino, you are a man full of hate, but Paul London shoots the body of Michael Shane up and over the top rope, and I take offense to those remarks you made about Rudy Boy. Rudy Boy is an upstanding man, a man of great credentials, and a man who's doing the right thing here in the country. And Paul London through the middle of the ropes onto Biohazard and Michael Shane. And Steve Corino, I'd appreciate it if you didn't mock Rudy Boy any longer.
Wait a second, have you ever talked to Rudy Boy?
A few times, Steve Corino, but Paul London stomping Michael Shane outside the ring. He is venomous, he is pissed off, and he is upset that he did not secure that Ring of Honor contract. Steve Corino, this man has a right to be upset. You saw the footage, you saw the tape. In my estimation, in the estimation of a lot of other ROH fans, that man right there, Paul London, should have a contract. Michael Shane was lucky to skate out of that match.
Michael Shane was not lucky. Michael Shane scored a pin. You know, you're not lucky when you score a pin, Donnie B. You're not lucky at all. Referee Rick Porter counted Shane's pin. Oh, it's a darn shame that Paul London and his beautiful dropkick that he hit on Michael Shane didn't get the contract, but that's the way the ball bounces. You know, Michael Shane has done everything right here at Ring of Honor so far. He's got a contract, he flies, the hotel's paid for. Paul London is on his own dime, and he's trying to make a name for himself on Michael Shane's reputation. What more can I say about this? What more do you want? Do you want me to cry for the kid? Do you want me to, like, beg for him to get a contract? Do you want me to go to the office and do something about it? Michael Shane's got a contract. I like Michael Shane. Paul London looks like somebody that I wish dies every day, and he hangs out with Rudy Boy Gonzalez, and I'm getting more upset. This stupid move there. Donnie, call the damn match.
Oh my God, Steve Corino, like I said, a man full of hate. A nice back brain kick to the head of Michael Shane. A little while ago, we just saw a nice standing back moonsault by Paul London. Thus far, Paul London seems to have Michael Shane dazed and confused, out on his feet, rubber-legged. All those cliches are in this match. Michael Shane seems to be on the defensive end here. Paul London is a house of fire. This man is wrestling like a man possessed. Nice head scissors by Paul London. Paul London blocks a forearm right to the face of Michael Shane. Michael Shane seems to be a little jilted, but he...
Oh my God!
Throws Paul London from the top rope about 12 feet through the barricade and almost Julian French fries the whole front row.
Yeah, that's right, the French fries are there. Rudy Boy Gonzalez went after. Paul London is like a human car accident. This guy is not only dangerous to his opponents, he's dangerous to himself. And Rudy Boy just took the security guard's wallet.
No, he didn't, Steve.
He did, I
Rudy
swear
Boy
to God.
checking out one of his young proteges, Paul London. Exactly what a mentor should do. Exactly what a teacher should do. Making sure that young man will still have a career come tomorrow morning. Rudy Boy doing the right thing, stepping in. And Michael Shane, look at him. What kind of man does that? What kind of man goes over and picks up the scraps after it goes through a barricade? This is reprehensible, Steve. Personally, I'm disgusted.
Look, you may be disgusted, but Michael Shane is, a guy that takes an opportunity and runs with it. Paul London had an opportunity to capitalize on Chris Marvel's injury when he broke the poor kid's leg.
Whoa.
But he didn't. He sat in the ring like a great sportsman. Oh, big freaking deal. There's Rudy Boy looking for another French fry. Michael Shane is a guy that I just love watching because the guy reminds me a lot of me. A classic pro wrestler that takes an advantage and runs with it. He took the ball and he's running with it, hooked the leg, and Paul London was lucky to kick out at 2.
Only a 2 count there by Michael Shane, who just moments ago was making scrap metal with the body of Paul London out of these ROH barricades. Thus far, this match has been pretty even. Michael Shane seems to have the advantage advantage right now on Paul London, but that's because just mere moments, Steve, you saw it. Michael Shane took a shortcut. There's a difference between a shortcut and an opportunity as he launched Paul London about 12 feet through that barricade. A nice picture-perfect elbow drop right there on a Paul London in the middle of the ring, and Michael Shane seems a little in disbelief right now that London kicked out.
Donnie B, I didn't see Michael Shane put Paul London on the top rope. Paul London voluntarily went to the top rope to do one of those stupid aerobatic moves that he does, and Michael Shane took advantage of it. Is that Michael Shane's fault? You know what? I watch Biohazard on the outside, and I love it because he's looking up to his mentor. His mentor, Michael Shane. That's a guy you can look up to. Not the baked potato with legs, Rudy Boy Gonzalez, in his 63 Impala that can't even park at the ECW in South Philadelphia. This guy, Rudy Boy Gonzalez, takes 22% of these guys' pay, and I know because Paul London is not under contract. This guy's not going to be going home with any money. Now, how is this guy going to go to the mall
Steve
and buy
Corino,
stock?
please, 22% of the money. All these ridiculous diatribes spewing out of your mouth. This is human filth coming out of your mouth. The human highlight reel of human diarrhea sitting next to me on my left. Paul London with a nice front kick to the face of Michael Shane, locking in that tornado DDT. Paul London calls for it. If he hits this Corino, it's headache number 9 for Michael Shane. But he blocks it. Michael Shane up and over. Oh, bear hug suplex throw over the top right there. I'll tell you what.
Pull him out.
Paul London might be out.
Paul London should be out.
Hooks the leg, only a 2 count there. Michael Shane still can't believe it. Steve Corino, he seems to be coming flustered right now. And Rudy Boy looks on with words of encouragement for young upstart Paul London.
Words of encouragement. Rudy Boy knows that if Paul London wins, Paul London gets the winner's share of the purse, and that means the 26% that he collects.
I thought it was 22, Steve Corino. If you're going to lie, at least get your lies straight, as Biohazard
I am
looks
not a
on.
liar, Donnie B.
Rudy Boy and Biohazard each trying to get their men back into this match. A reverse chin lock by Michael Shane on a Paul London, who seems to be giving it all, seems to be fighting back. Let me tell you, Steve, 90% of the competitors out there after being through a Paul London has, especially getting Julian through those guardrails, would have been given up by now. They would have been beaten, but not Paul London. This man has something to prove, and Michael Shane strutting around the ring like a proud peacock. That makes my blood boil, Steve. That makes me sick.
Good, let it your blood boil. Let's see who wins. Michael Shane is staying on Paul London's neck. He threw him through the barricade. Cool. Landed on his head. Landed on his neck. Now he had the version of the camel clutch. Now he dropped an elbow on his neck. He's staying on the neck. He's wearing Paul London down, and that's what you got to do. Paul London is a high flyer. If your neck's hurt, Donnie B, you're not going to be able to fly much. Michael Shane is so smart. Look, another elbow strike to the back of the head, to the neck. Paul London is weary. Paul London is weak right now. Michael Shane is in total control.
Michael Shane has Paul London up, back into the ropes, whips Paul London into the ropes. Paul London up, face first slam on Michael Shane right there. London mounts Michael Shane and just repeatedly slams the back of Michael Shane's head into the mat, saying, "Take that, USOB, I've had enough of you in this match." Paul London seems like a man possessed, and the target of his rage is right there. Michael Shane, nice knife edge, cutting Shane in half. Another one, 3 knife edges, and a roaring slap by Paul London sends Michael Shane crashing down like the Leaning Tower of Pisa during a windy storm. Right there, Paul London. I'll tell you what, Steve, he is dominating right now. Michael Shane is in a bit of trouble, and if he doesn't watch it, he's going to come out the loser tonight.
Michael Shane seems to be back on the advantage here. Oh, but London ducks out of the way.
London gets
Beautiful
another kick. Nice front face kick by Michael Shane. That's the bicycle kick by Shane. Only a 2 count there. London with the presence of mind. There's that Rudy Boy teaching. Good boy, Paul. Good boy. Listen to Rudy Boy. That teaching just kicked in there. He knew exactly where he was.
Okay, I'll give you that one. Paul London knew where he was. He took a stiff kick to the face, but he knew where he was. He got his foot in the ropes. Okay, I'll put Paul London over for that. But Michael Shane is still in control. Michael Shane is going to the top, and Donnie B, you know what time it is.
This could be time for the picture-perfect elbow that he's made famous from coast to coast like buttered toast. Michael Shane up on the top rope right now.
Oh.
And London shoot kicks the leg out from underneath him. And Steve Corino, what were you saying before about being a high flyer? If you don't have your legs, you can't fly too high. And Paul London in control right now, looking to mount the top turnbuckle. Perhaps a superplex by London onto Shane. If he hits this, it could be over.
Yeah, but would it be smart for him to hit a superplex? Because Michael Shane's been working his neck right back down on the neck. Michael Shane is such a thinker. Paul London wasn't thinking. He was going for a superplex when he should have done something else. Drove his head into the mat. This could be all.
X Factor front face into the mat. Only a 2 count there. Unbelievable. Paul London kicks out of that. I thought he had a 3 count there for sure. Michael Shane thought he had a 3 count. These 500 plus fans here in Wakefield thought there was a 3 count. But one man didn't think there was a 3 count, and that man's name is Paul London.
I'll give it to you. Paul London's got heart. Paul London's got determination. Paul London does not like to lose, and Paul London is showing why he belongs in Ring of Honor. But I think Michael Shane's just a little bit better.
Up and over there, Michael Shane quickly locks up the legs of Paul London. This is very sound strategy. Very smart move here by Michael Shane. This could be it, Steve Corino. We might have a tap out here by Paul London.
He's stretching him here. Look, the abs, the neck. Paul London is in big trouble. The quads. He has got a perfect submission hold in there in the middle of the ring, Donnie B. As Rudy Boy is there trying to encourage him to get to the ropes, but Paul London is in trouble. Paul London is trying to keep a vertical base, but he can't. Michael Shane is stretching him right now. This could be it. If Paul London was smart, he would tap out and fight another tag when he made it to the ropes.
Paul London reaches for the ropes with his trainer and mentor, Rudy Boy. It was almost like he was reaching after Rudy Boy, saying, Rudy, I'm doing this for you. I'm going to reach that rope, and nothing will stop me. Michael Shane won't stop me. The obligatory, disgusting remarks of Steve Corino won't stop me. Nothing will stop me. Paul London is a man possessed, and right there, a nice small package cradle, only a 2 count by London. Michael Shane back up on his feet, ducks under. Nice reverse full Nelson type maneuver by Michael Shane. Dumps Paul London over his shoulder. Kick to the midsection. Locks in what appears to be a pile driver. No, up and over. Powerbomb attempt turned into a roll through head scissors. 1, 2, only a 2 count. Steve Corino. What a burst of action by this young man, London.
Okay, a burst of action by this young man, London. But answer me this. Why is Rudy Boy, shouting encouragement to only Paul London when he trained Michael Shane too?
He probably wants to see both young men excel, but the only problem is that Paul London has a little bit more respect than Michael Shane. Michael Shane needs to be knocked down a few pegs.
Michael Shane.
Biohazard checking on Michael Shane outside the ring, and Paul London looks down and sees Michael Shane and Steve Corino. You know what that means? No!
Oh, wait a second.
He just spilled right onto the ankle of Michael Shane, Steve.
Wait,
it looks like
Donnie.
Michael Shane has injured that ankle, Steve Corino.
Donnie B, we've seen this before with Chris Marvel.
This is exactly the same thing that happened to Chris Marvel.
Oh, this ain't good. This ain't good. Now, let's see, wait a second. Why isn't Paul should just leave him alone? Michael Shane is legit hurt right now.
Rudy Boy needs to get over there and check on the condition of Michael Shane, Steve Corino. We have a similar injury, it appears.
That's something you don't fool with. Broken leg is something you don't fool with.
The round robin challenge, I believe, Steve, if memory serves me correct, this is what happened to Chris Marvel. Fans, this is very ugly. You may want to fast forward the videotape.
Yeah, I mean, granted, you have wrestling boots on. Michael Shane has wrestling boots. Chris Marvel had the magnums on, but it's still the same injury. There's only so much you can do. Your leg's going to give out. You have a 200-pound man, doing a twisting flip on you.
Rudy Boy calling for the trainers in the back. I think this match is over.
As much as I bury Rudy Boy. Oh, wait a second!
Oh my God! That's disgusting, Steve Corino.
He small packaged him with a broken leg.
A broken leg right behind Steve. That's absolutely Corino-esque. It's disgusting that Michael Shane just perpetrated that move.
Genius. He worked us.
Played on the folly, played on the injury of Chris Marvel, on the heartstrings of everybody out there, all the ROH fans. That makes me absolutely sick, Steve Corino, that Michael Shane would take the injury of a fellow brother and use it as a strategical placement, a strategical weapon in a match like this. Steve Corino, how on earth could you endorse something like that?
Hey, he didn't cheat. He didn't pull the tights. He didn't hit him with a foreign object. Psychological advantage. Michael Shane is the winner because Michael Shane's a little bit smarter than Paul London.
And these two men